Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So you like today's verses very much because they are all on love, dearness and happiness. How it is analyzed. See, many times you really such an in-depth analysis of what these most important things in life are about, you won't find anywhere. They have gone far beyond psychological study. Okay, where does actually love spring from? Where does happiness come from? How it's my very own being. It is not even my nature. It is not the nature of my mind. It's my very own being. And caught by the mind and maybe superimposed on an object. But it is my very own being. So this particular idea, it is very beautifully, it comes in these verses. So we must think deeply about this because a wrong idea of happiness and a wrong idea of love can mess up with our life, isn't it? We will take the wrong decisions. And if we have only a very superficial understanding, then life is like, it's trial and error. How much of quality experience we'll get from life, it is seriously doubted. Only if we have clarity with regard to these things, then only our life becomes mature, isn't it? Is it true? Otherwise, after a certain age, life can be full of regrets. And if it's only you're experimenting with life energy, then again it is a problem because you're creating sanskars. So that's why it's very good to know these deepest aspects of human life are subjective in nature. See, happiness, you may think an object is giving you happiness, but actually happiness is a state of your mind. It got stimulated by that object maybe, but it is a state of your mind. So if you can produce that state of mind without the object, isn't that great? Tell me. So the idea is this, in Vedanta, you become, see, freedom. When Vivekananda uses the word freedom for Vedanta, freedom at all levels, independence at all levels. We are crying for it, I'm telling you. Your mind is aching for it. Because if I have to lean on somebody to remain happy and contented and joyous, then what is the guarantee that what I'm leaning on is going to hold for all time? Tell me. Life is so changing, so impermanent. So then I must learn to manufacture these higher states of mind by myself. And happiness is something more than just a state of your mind. That also will come. Initially, we understand this much, that the experience of joy is internal. And it is silent. It is natural. It comes from my being. It is not just a state of mind. It actually springs from my being and gets reflected in a pure mind. That is its nature. So if the mind is clear, it will definitely contribute to your happiness. That is why a healthy mind will be a happy mind. A wrongly conditioned mind, a psychological case, cannot be happy. So this is the whole point. A clear mind will reflect the joy of the soul. And a mind wrongly conditioned or full of passion and anger and jealousy and hatred, it cannot reflect that joy. Then you need an object to keep you happy. You need somebody to keep you happy. So why should we reduce ourselves to such miserable states when your joy actually springs from within you? See, an empty mind will reflect the inner light and joy. When it reflects the inner light, you call it awareness. When it reflects the inner joy, you call it bliss. Yes? So the very nature of yourself is existence, consciousness and bliss. We don't have to hunt pleasure in the outer world. But it's a world of experience. You can learn your lessons there. Vivekananda pointed out to this. He said that we come to learn lessons from the world. We come to get knowledge. It's a learning experience. It's not a resting place. It's a journey. It's not a destination. If you want to make it a destination, many people think, oh, it's a destination where I have to be supremely happy. Then what you will do, you will only invest in the external. Time, energy, people. You will try to extract joy from there. And that will yield very little joy, I'm telling you. Because once another person realizes how bankrupt you are and how you are trying to extract joy from him or her, do you think the response will be positive? The response is positive only when that person knows you are samriddh by yourself. You are full of life and joy by yourself, and maybe you're sharing that joy with that person. Then he'll be your friend, she'll be your friend, not otherwise. So the very psychology of relationships is tarnished in the modern world. If it's a barter, if you are asking for somebody to make you happy, it's a very poor state of affairs. Please remember, first we must become independent by ourselves. That's why we are teaching relationship psychology in universities today. It's a part of that contemplative psychology course. You must know the fundamentals of love and joy. Otherwise, you will mess up with both. So all this popular picture of, you depend on somebody and that person keeps you eternally happy, this is all just utopian ideas. Fundamentally, let us understand this. A bound mind cannot give you unlimited joy. Can it? Think and see for yourself. A bound mind, which is itself unable to get free, which is conditioned in various ways, how much of happiness will it give you? And because, you see, when we are totally messed up in our own minds, then you look to another mind to make you happy. But if you clarified your own mind, you don't have to look to anybody. You will look up to others, actually. You will see the divine in them and appreciate them. Actually speaking, the very nature of love is when you see divinity reflected there is real love. Real love, real respect, real service-mindedness, oneness. You feel one with the object of love, isn't it? Unity, expansiveness, all this will naturally come. And if I'm bankrupt and looking at somebody, that is a very poor state of mind. So be clear about this and let us not fool ourselves when it comes to all these things in life. To young people, all the more this has to be told. The mind an untrained mind is the cause for all disaster. It will keep fooling itself. So let us take care of this. This is the highest psychology on which I have found on love, happiness, awareness. These are all connected. These are not three words. It's the same experience which expresses itself in three different ways. It's the same experience. That's why I told you, if happiness is an exponential function of your awareness, so also is love. Love also is an explosion of your awareness. And so also is your intelligence. That is also an explosion of your awareness in your buddhi. So take care of your awareness and the rest will follow. That's the whole point. You see how beautifully they will put it in these verses. Not exactly this way they put it, but this is an understanding born of this. You see. I think we go to verse number 21, right? Amrita abdhe me jirni mrisha dindira janmabhi sfatikardena me ragaha swapna sandhya abhra vibramaihi. See, he says, when false waves rise in me, the ocean of immortality, there is no loss. When the dream-like evening clouds of delusion gather round me, the mountain of crystal, they color me not. Look at his stand. He's taking his stand on the ultimate, in Brahman. So then the false waves that rise in me, in the mind. See, nature of mind is, the vrittis are like waves, isn't it? Always it is roaring with all sorts of things. So they rise in me, but I being the ocean of immortality, the waves don't matter. The waves only matter if you're on top of them and not the ocean. But we are actually the ocean of awareness, immortality. So it doesn't matter to me. And when the dream-like evening clouds of delusion gather around me, I, the mountain of crystal. See, I may reflect that, whatever is there, but I am not it. Anything happening in your mind, please check this out and see. You are able to know what is happening in your mind, which means obviously you are not that emotion, you are not that sentiment, you are not that thought. So this distance I must be able to put. All yogic techniques train you towards this. You're putting a distance between I and what is happening in my mind. No identification. This is a very important state. So otherwise what happens, see, some nice feeling occurs, you're happy. Some bad feeling occurs, you are shaken. Some anger comes, you are identified with the anger, you explode. So why should all this happen? This is not the real state of affairs. Check your own mind and see every vritti of your mind, you can be a witness of it. You know what you have been thinking about. Which means, this being your experience, in the very nature of things, you are apart from the mind. Mind is an object of experience. And mental states are not realities about you, nor about anybody else. Okay, so don't identify people with mind and body. Yes, that's the message. Just like how I am not identified with the body and mind, I will not care to identify a person with body and mind. That's why the state of judging, judgmental mind is a very poor state. The mind of a saint, the mind of a sage is far more intelligent than that. He sees the core and he sees how much the equipment can reflect that core. But he will not see what is the content of the mind and identify the person. Because you see, life is such, you never know what you will gather. Isn't it? But if this much is your experience, that I am not the states of my mind, then I have gone far, I am telling you. For self-knowledge, see, these are the fundamental things. Whatever wave arises in the mind, I am a witness of that. No wave arises, I am witness of that also. There are thoughts, I am witness of that. There are no thoughts, I am witness of that also. Deep sleep, you are the witness of deep sleep. You are not the deep sleeper. You are the turiya which appears as the prajna, the deep sleeper. That's all. Which means to say, in my real nature, I am not identified with the states of mind. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti are all states of mind. And so also all our different states of the waking state we know very well. So in some way, every day if you can practice this, and all yogic techniques will tell you this, if in some way, at least early morning when you get up, practice this Aham Brahmasmi, or in some sense, internalizing your consciousness to such an extent, even mind appears external to it. This is a great meditation. Catching the pure I am sense within you. Does I am sense pertain to mind? Tell me. Who says I am within you? You don't have to repeat it. But that I am sense, what does it pertain to? Check and see. Right now, check and see. Asmi, I am. It pertains to existence and consciousness. I pertains directly to consciousness, and am is the feel of existence. That amness, that is you. It is not a vritti of the mind. It goes far beyond the mind. The mind will be busy with all its vrittis, Vrittis pertain to objects. Your sense of I am does not pertain to objects. So your mind is geared to function towards the external, towards the object, always. That's why if you don't give the mind objects, it will vanish. This is what you do in meditation. If you don't give it objects, no, it will. So it can't produce thoughts. It will try to draw from memory. That also you stop by the power of your grit and will in the meditative process. Then it will vanish. That silly is the mind, to which we have given ontological reality. My fear, see how my mind is working, what it is thinking, I am so scared. All this is coming because we have given mind ontological reality, which means it's actually there, we feel. It's actually not there. It appears to be there. It's a reflection on your awareness, which appears to be very real to you. In the absence of thoughts, there is no mind. In the absence of object and memory, there is no thought. So mind does not exist actually. See, this is where departure from Sankhya. Why we say Vedant is a development over Sankhya is for this reason. Mind is not real. But until you discover it by yourself, not out of belief in me, I'm telling you, all these things you have to discover by yourself. If you are not prepared to be independent, there is no point in studying all this. Spiritual life means an independent life of independent discovery. Then only you will be 100% convinced. So find out for yourself to what extent is mind real, to what extent is body consciousness real. It is not there. It's made up. Only awareness is real. It never flickers. It's the only continuum. It appears to flicker if, mind does not reflect it properly. Which also is something very wrong we are doing. We are trying to understand consciousness through mind, which is wrong. But all this you must arrive by yourself. Then only, it's actually you're a rishi. You have discovered things for yourself. It gives great inner strength, I'm telling you. You stand on your own feet. And there is ultimate clarity. The clarity of a crystal. Even Patanjali uses this example. A crystal will reflect perfectly what is before it, isn't it? That is the nature of a crystal. Wood will reflect. Stone will reflect. Crystal will reflect. Mind must become a crystal. Mind must become crystal clear. Then you will see truth as it is. Otherwise, it's only an interpretation of your conditioning, that's all. Knowledge is like that. Entirely depends on clarity of mind. And knowledge is power. Don't think anything else is power. Everything else is pseudo power. Privilege, position, all this physical capacity, assertion, all pseudo power. Knowledge is power because knowledge is clarity. Clarity is power. If you have knowledge, it's there in our Subhashitani. If you have knowledge, original knowledge, discovered by yourself, the whole world will come to you. If you don't have knowledge, you will try to, position yourself on something silly. Privilege and caste and some kind of identification which will not work. Knowledge is power literally, and spiritual knowledge, that's why it's the highest power. Vivekananda used to say this: holiness is the greatest power on earth. Everything else quails before it. So you see, all the false waves rising in me cannot affect me in any way because I am the crystal that reflects the waves. Right? And in no way does the wave touch me. See, what he's trying to say is your vrittis are, whatever is happening in your mind, has no real contact with you. So has the mind any real contact with me? Even mind has no real contact with me because it is always an object of my perception and it doesn't actually exist. It's a temporary make-believe, for us to function in the normal world, empirical world, what we call practical world. For the yogi, awareness only is practical. Practical is a relative term, You can't say, well, in the practical everyday world. For somebody else, the practical everyday world is something else. So take care of this. It all depends on what you empowered within yourself. Did you empower awareness? Or did you empower silly thought mechanism? Or did you empower some perception? Or did you empower an object? What did you empower? Where you will invest your attention, that will get empowered. Attention is power. Knowledge is power. So actually train your attention towards the highest. Really, I'm telling you, in your life, whatever you will fix attention upon will become very powerful in your life, will become primary. So take care of your attention. Don't invest it in something small. And attention is far more significant than mere thought. Yes? Am I right? Attention is far more significant than our small thought and emotion and all that. Because attention is the power of your awareness. It's a beam of your awareness reflected in your mind. Take care of it. It's your own property. But thought, it is a recycling of the things you have gathered. It's a recycling of your conditioning. It is not that significant. Although Western philosophy will say thought is all significant. It's not. Today you're thinking one way, tomorrow you'll be thinking another way, and day after tomorrow you may not be thinking at all. That is the nature of the thought mechanism. But your attention, it's your own property. You can focus it and it will unravel knowledge for you. So take care of what you pay attention to. Every day, 3 hours a day watching movies. Sheer waste of the power of attention. If every day 3 hours you do Shastra Charsha, you know what will happen? You do Vedant. The vrittis of Vedant get created in the mind repeatedly. Such a huge gain. 3 hours I did bhajan. Vrittis of devotion got created in my mind. I listened to devotional music. I did my parayan and puja. That got. I did service activities. Grand vrittis of selflessness, deep devotion will arise in the mind. The gain is yours. What you pay attention to will create your character. And that only will create your sanskars and your future life. So where we invest attention is very important. That's why spiritual aspirant means up and doing. Very careful about how he's spending his time. Don't waste a single minute. See, when we really become serious about the spiritual life, every single minute you will consciously invest it into the right thing. And those who are not serious, the whole day is there for them to waste. What are the things with which you waste attention? Attention includes time, energy, everything. Internet, mobile phone, and what's that other thing? WhatsApp, and all these channels. Why get involved in somebody's problems? But half the day goes in watching all sorts of serials. So when women come and tell me that such bad things happening I told them, why you watch? Why do you waste time on that? Some silly tangle of somebody's problems, why should it matter to you? If you have intense aspiration for the higher life, these things will be out of question, Just throw them out. Don't waste a single minute. At least the name of God we can do. At least you can plant trees, I told you. Do something good, but don't waste time. So then we go to verse number 22. Swarupameva me sattvam natu dharmo nabhastvavat mat anyasya sata abhavat nahi sat jati rishyate. Oh my God, see what he is saying. As spaceness is the nature of space, so existence is nothing but my own nature, not a quality of mine. Existence is not considered a classification. See, only qualities can be classified, properties can be classified, not the thing in itself. So existence is not considered a classification, as there is no existence other than me. So this is what we should understand here. See, now when we say Sat, Chit, Ananda, do you think Sat, existence, Chit, consciousness, and Ananda, bliss, are properties of the self? Property means what? Qualities, acquired. They are acquired. They are not intrinsic to the object. Isn't it? So now, are these things properties of the self? No. They are its very nature. So they are not borrowed, so they are never lost. They are not acquired, nor are they attained. It is in the very nature of the self to exist, to be conscious, and to be blissful. Not that the self is, existent and consciousness. It is of the very nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss. So that's why they make that distinction between intrinsic existence and extrinsic existence. Nothing has intrinsic existence other than consciousness. See, this is a grand statement to make, a sweeping statement in Vedanta philosophy. What do they mean to say by this? Existence belongs to Atman alone. Everything else is borrowing existence from it. Because you see, to perceive any other object, I need to be aware. In my awareness, I am perceiving it as that object. Actually, what is there, nobody can tell. Yes. So when something requires my awareness to become perceptible, it doesn't have intrinsic existence as that object. Is this right? Is this correct? See, this is the logic. See, when do I say two objects? Now see, this case and this book. These are two independent objects. Isn't it? Because this can stay without this. This can remain without this. Now, any object requires awareness to become perceptible. Which means they are not two different things. Awareness and the object are not two. It is awareness alone that is appearing as the object. This is the logic. If one thing requires the presence of the other to become even perceptible, then they are not two things but two forms of the same thing. That's why everything is nothing but chinmatra vistaritam. One consciousness appearing as its own objects. It includes your mind, body, the world around you. This is not an intellectual concept that we will understand it through logic. This is the actual nature of existence. That's why your logic may not convince you of it, but the experience of self-knowledge, this, whatever you call it, samadhi or whatever you call it, that will convince you of this. What are the limitations of logic? Can you tell me? See, why is it that all the saints say that you have to do spiritual practice and then come to this realization? You have to do meditation, you have to do inquiry and deeply dive deep into yourself and come to this realization. And just by thinking, you will not come to it. Just by logic, you will not come to it. Why do they say that? Naisha tarkena matirapaneya, Kathopanishad says. Not through tark, not through logic. Because although logic is required to convince your intellect, logic is also vritti jnana. Right? So the limitations of your mind apply to logic. What are the limitations of your mind? Your mind has epistemic limits. It can only function in the matrix of time, space and causation. So logic will function only that much. That's the limit of logic. It will help convince your intellect, but it is still vritti jnana. It won't take you to the realization. It will convince your intellect so that the intellect will now point towards the goal. But it cannot take you there. So this is what Gödel discovered, the limits of logic. Have you heard of Gödel's theorem? No. So any mathematical axiom, even the highest level of math, is limited by its logic. So logic has its own limitations, but it also has its own contributions to make in our development, isn't it? So that is why your logic should convince your intellect so that you do real sadhana and enter into self-knowledge. Finally, you will understand, if we were sharp enough, the logic only would have taken us there. Yes, because what logic is pointing out to is the goal. I told you now, these existence, consciousness and bliss are not your properties. They are your nature. See, if you understood the difference between intrinsic property and extrinsic property, at once that logic will convince you of what they are saying. This is the nature of logic. It convinces the intellect, so when you're dead sure of something, you will straight aim at the goal. You will almost reach the goal. So you can use logic in a big way. Did you understand that logic of the two things which I told you? Two things are separate only if they can exist independent of each other. If they cannot exist independent of each other, they are not two separate entities. That is the logic used by Vedanta to prove the self alone manifests as the world. Because everything requires awareness to be perceptible as that thing. So nothing has intrinsic existence except consciousness. So a very logical mind, if it is very clear also, very good sanskars are there, it can come directly to the truth. See, in ancient times, in the Upanishadic age, they used to use mahavakyas like that. The rishis, because the brahmacharis who would come to them, the young rishis who would come to them, were of that caliber, that stature. Real tapasya was there, real clarity was there, just logic. And the vishleshana of the mahavakya would put them into that state. So the guru would just say tattvamasi, and it came as a realization to the student. How wonderful, no? So if we have that kind of mind, that will work, really. It takes very little to realize Vedanta. It takes an empty mind to realize Vedanta. All you have to do is manufacture the empty mind. Now you'll say, easier said than done. Is it easy to manufacture an empty mind? See, the primary thing you will face when you try to really do sadhana in empty mind is the power of desire in the human heart. Everything in our life has come out of the power of desire. There is a tendency in the human mind, it resides in the human mind, to desire, to want this and that and that and that, and taste of, like today's youngsters put it very openly. They say, we want to taste everything in life. At least once. Then I'll choose. This is what they say, isn't it? So this is the nature of the mind. The fundamental aspect of desire drives the mind to its experiences. So now you are stalling that when it comes to spiritual practice. Is it a small thing? You are going against your own will, as it were. So it requires superhuman capacity to do sustained sadhana, tapasya. Vivekananda has used this word. Superhuman capacity is required. Which means you don't budge from what you know to be real, what you know to be true. Sharp vivek and this fixed will. Only then sadhana will be successful. Otherwise it won't be. Otherwise it's halt and go. If you compromise on this, you won't get first-hand knowledge. You have to listen to somebody and proceed. That real tej and what is called ojas, that is required. See, that person becomes a rishi. And only a rishi is one who is convinced of the truth of existence. He lives by that. The rest are all speculating. So all these are the requirements of sadhana, fundamentals of sadhana. Then, see, existence is not considered a classification, means a quality which can be classified under something, as there is no existence other than me. Everything existing is nothing but Brahman, which is me. Everything appearing also is me. Yes. And see, this has, it's called Eka Jiva Bodh, which means you have understood there is only one living, vibrant entity manifested in. The closest example of this you can say like a new mother and her child. For her, now the child is still her only. Like that kind of a feeling. So the very nature of saints and sages, they will protect everybody's dignity because they are invested, as it were, in everything in creation. There's a strong kinship with everything. A saint will never denigrate or doesn't have any ill feeling towards another. Why? Only because of this. Ekatma Bodh is there. Somewhere he knows it's my own reflection. See, you can never convince a mother of the insufficiency of her child, isn't it? Can you? She'll never believe it. However the child may be. That's because of that she has experienced some level of ekatma bodh in infancy. That creates that strong attachment. So in the case of the sage, it is an enlightened love. It's not attachment. Because he has actually seen he has become all this. So such people are they make all the changes. It is not easy to change the human mind. It's very easy to make changes outside. But to change the human mind, to sensitize the human mind and purify the human mind, it requires a saint. That powerful mind will change other minds. So they are all the silent transformers of our societies, The real spiritual people, silently they transform minds. And they have done it for eons. Anybody else can change a mind, tell me? Even mothers can't after a certain age. But who changes the mind, the ways of the mind, the tendencies of the mind? Only when you see divinity, it changes. Something so powerfully good that the bad in us dissolves away. So that is how they make the changes. Now you go to the next verse. Swarupameva me jnanam na guna sa guno yadi anatmatvam asatvam va gneya gneyat tvayo patet. Which means knowledge is my own nature indeed, not a quality. If a quality, then the self becomes knowable and therefore it is not self. If unknowable, the self becomes non-existent. See the logic they are using? If self-knowledge was a quality in me, automatically a quality is known, isn't it? So then the self becomes knowable. It becomes an object. So it cannot anymore be the self. That's why they are not qualities. Existence, consciousness, bliss, knowledge, they are intrinsic nature of the self. And if a quality is unknowable, then the self itself will become unknowable, become non-existent. So, he is using both logic and his experience to understand the whole point, you see. Now we go to the next verse. The 24th verse, see, this is very, very beautiful and pregnant with meaning. Ahameva sukham nanyad anyache naiva tatsukham amadartham nahi priyo madartham na swata priyam. I am joy itself. Joy is not other than me. If other, it is not joy at all. For if it isn't for me, it isn't dear at all. And if it is for me, it isn't dear of itself. There's a lot packed in this. We'll unpack it for the next half an hour. See, he's saying, Ahameva sukham. I am joy itself. Now, the tendency of our mind is to get joy. I told you, mind relies on objects to think. So, it is always trying to get joy. If only it knew, if it kept quiet and cleared itself, it would reflect already existing joy. If it knew this, do you think it will try to get joy from the outside? It's a two-faced mirror kind of thing, you know. One mirror is always turned outward because it is trying to get something from the outside. See, everything that we do in life, it is only to get joy, happiness. Isn't it? Anybody else, anybody doing anything apart from this? Whatever we do, see, we may say, no, I'm doing my duty. But you are doing your duty because you got into the relationship and you feel dutiful towards that person because you wanted joy. So you got into the relationship. So at the heart of everything is the drive for joy, the drive for happiness. And it is perfectly justified, isn't it? Because the nature of the self is bliss, its equipment yearns for joy. Only problem is it turns only outward for that joy. That's the only problem. The drive in itself, you see, is existential drive. The mind wants to remain joyous. So what's wrong with that? But only to turn towards objects for that joy is the mistake. That is the problem. And so also with love. You want to be loved and be loving. It's very good. But only to turn towards just anybody to keep you engaged. This is a mistake. Because if that mind matures enough, it will turn towards itself. See, he says that dearness belongs to me. It will turn inward. When they say the goal of life is devotion to God, this is what they are saying. You turn inward. Let the mind learn to reflect the existential reality behind it. It will remain always joyous. It will be full of love. But if it is depending on another mind to keep it well, that is a mistake. Sadhguru says there are only two types, mystics and mistakes. Mystics are those who have understood that it's all within. And mistakes are those who feel it's all outside. So this is not an intellectual idea. Please understand the nature of love and the nature of joy, happiness are very similar. See, there's that book, Science of Happiness. If you want, you can purchase the book. It is there. What is the science of happiness? Fundamentally, it is this, that understanding exactly how I become happy is at the heart of the science of happiness. Now, how they are seeing it is, if the mind is fairly clear, it remains very content by itself. And it feels a sort of joy always. But if the mind is agitated, it doesn't feel that. Which means happiness does belong to the mind. It is a state of mind. But this is only point number one. Point number two is, when the mind reflects the inner awareness, it tends to feel content and happy by itself. Which means what? The source of our happiness lies in the self. It is reflected in the pure mind, And in the impure mind, it gets reflected there, but it gets at once superimposed on the object. You know? Are you getting the point? This is what we do. An impure mind will always keep giving credit to the object. For the simple reason it didn't see this process happening. You deflected the inner light and turned it towards the object because, because of your nature of your mind. And you kept giving credit to the object until the object taught you it is not the case. Yes, experience alone teaches that nobody can make us happy. Nobody can make us really deeply happy. Happiness is internal. Happiness is the state of the pure mind. Happiness is the face of reflected awareness. It belongs to you. It's your very nature. So actually speaking, we are carrying a begging bowl and moving about in the world. Make me happy. Love me. Give me this. Yeah, real beggars. This is what we are doing because we don't understand the source of happiness, the source of joy. Same thing with the source of love. The feeling of dearness, feeling good within yourself. Why should it come from another person? A clear mind will again reflect the inner bliss and it appears as love. And wherever there has been an episode of real love in the world also, you will see the minds were very clear and pure. And there was some measure of self-revelation, self-knowledge, so that love was authentic. And it's a rare thing. Only the pure love actually. The rest it's a business, barter. It's not called like that. Love can never be body-based. Can it ever be, tell me? Matter cannot inspire love. Can it be mind-based? It can't even be mind-based. Because I told you, mind, only if it has some conditioning, it functions as mind. Otherwise, it's not there. So any conditioned product cannot inspire real love. Only awareness inspires love. That is why the only people who are really loved selflessly, unconditionally, fully, completely are God and His saints. The love we feel for them, you can never feel for a human being. That's why they are kept like different categories, isn't it? Every culture has done this because only the divine reflects real love, unconditional love, complete love. And the rest are all transaction, refined and unrefined. So, and we are using the same term. That's the problem. You're giving it the generic name of love. For any form of barter, you call it love. But real love belongs to God and the godly. So if you consciously turn towards them, you'll always be full of love only. How many beautiful bhajans are there on this, isn't it? God alone inspires love. And the godly, yes, they will show the way. But nobody is. Because you know that if unless you are full, you cannot share something as full as love. And with our begging bowl, when it is proof that we are not full, how can you love? One has something to give, one will give. One has nothing to give, what will one give? So then don't play with these things at all. With this deep understanding, we transcend this level of existence and turn towards God powerfully in our own lives. If that becomes the main thing in our lives, you will never lack love, I'm telling you. In the world, you will always lack love. Even if you have the whole family around you, still you will be feeling, hi, mujhe to kuch mila hi nahi. Kisi ne mujhe, you tell me who, one person in this world who will say, I got completely perfect love. I don't really want anything else. One person you point out and show me. Even in the perfect relationship also, they will dig into something. But this much was lacking, it's okay. They will say like that. But look at the saints, ecstatic love all the time. You read the life of Sri Ramakrishna, ecstatic love, always in ecstasy, bhav samadhi. No lack in the mind. So you see, complete love is the experience of bhakti. Huh? We keep on using the same words for all levels of love and make a mess of it. That is a different category altogether. But it is not unavailable. Because yourself, is it ever unavailable to you? It's always there. We have not, turned inward. That is the only problem. So unless you come to an original understanding of love, happiness, and find its relationship to awareness, we will not mature in life. We will not understand love. You keep experimenting, that's all. The world is a huge experiment ground. It's a lab. All are experimenting. Using others as test tubes. Yes, utna hi ho raha hai. Somehow, the rishis understood and tried to formalize these processes by tying a knot and all that. But that much only is going on. Does that mean that all these customs don't have any sanctity? They definitely have. You are trying to bring some order into the chaos. But the fundamental drives within us, if you try to understand that, why is this happening, you will see a mind which does not turn inward and reflect the light of the self remains agitated and tries to put a noose around somebody in front of it. That is all it is doing. So address these drives within. This is what is called purification of mind. Purification of mind actually means, if you speak about it psychologically, it is snapping the connection between vasana and smriti, which means between desire and memories, to snap that connection. Bhajnanandji Maharaj is a great monk of our order. He has given this. Psychologically, purification of mind means this. So that, you see, no object inspires a desire and invokes a memory. You have broken that cycle. Now you are free within yourself to relate with every object divinely. And existentially speaking, what is purification? It is nothing but creating such a pure mind, it perfectly reflects the light of the soul. Then automatically you are full of. And the self is always pure only. So being the self is ultimate purity. It doesn't even require mind. If you can be the self. This is the existential level purification. So you see, life is a continuous progress towards higher and higher purification actually. All that the world has to teach us, it is meant for this ultimately, isn't it? Otherwise, it's only experimenting and falling into trouble again and again. See, this is how people go on. Without spiritual knowledge, you will not understand the deeper subjective experiences of life. And they matter so much to us, isn't it? All your innermost drives, we must be able to see where their real satisfaction lies. So this is a huge psychology. Contemplative psychology will teach you all this, what is lacking in modern psychology. And ultimately, it goes beyond psychology. It goes into existential truth. Because our drives belong to the mind, but the source of our very existence belongs to the self. Your drives are not permanent. They can be transcended. They can be purified. So this is the process of sadhana. And it is only this way that we come to higher and higher understanding of love, happiness, awareness. Then the path becomes smooth. Otherwise, all the time entangled with some... our whole problem is no clarity of mind. Eternal confusion is raging in the mind. This is our whole problem. Those who have truly loved become gods. Please know this. And they will not use the object of desire to satisfy themselves. Isn't it? There's no desire there. Love frees you from desires and drives. Please see this, because it is something divine. So all these stories in our scriptures, all this, they only show that, isn't it? Look at the life of Thakur and Ma. What a divine life. The deepest relationship without any physical or even mental touch, isn't it? And yet the deepest love. The same thing with all saints, sages. The consciousness is so magnificently shining. Nothing else shows in their life. The mind cannot do anything. When you are fully conscious, the mind will stop all its nonsense. So these are all the ways in which, if we are constantly looking at it from the side of the mind, so we don't understand these things. We must look at it from the vantage point of awareness. Then it becomes understandable. So in the Ramayana, it is very, very nicely put. Even in the Bhagavatam, it is there. See, how is it that the love of God gives complete fulfillment to the yogi, and how he transcends all limitations as a result of that love of God? So what does God denote? It is nothing but that supreme consciousness, isn't it? When it awakens our own Atmajnan, that person becomes complete within himself. Now, do you think he is going to hanker after some silly thing outside to keep him happy? No. He will radiate that joy to others and inspire them towards his state. This is how he completes his own life. This is how it is described. So when we have questions about bhakti and all this, all that you have to do is you have to dive deep into bhakti to answer those questions. Many people ask us these questions, Recently somebody asked me, why Krishna did not marry Radha? I said, why? He didn't have to. When you reach the ultimate, very pitch of the highest love, without any formal process, then why do you have to come back to a formal process? He didn't have to. They are divine. That is not an ordinary class of love at all. That's why you must not try to understand that also without purifying mind. Vivekananda used to say this. The highest levels of bhakti, only with progressive purity we understand it. Otherwise we are dragging everything down to our level, So first work on yourself. The whole secret lies there. How do we know that we have worked, we are now really working on ourselves? The mind itself will give clarity, love, peace, awareness, wisdom. The mind only becomes the guru. Swami Brahmananji says this. It will give us all knowledge from within. And it will give peace, contentment, forbearance, forgiveness, lack of negativity, a joyous state of mind all the time. So this is a good mind. The good mind gives us all this. The closer it is to self, the better it will function. The further it is from the self, the more messed up it is. Awareness contributes to your bliss, to your joy. Don't mistake this. Make a mistake about this. Vivekananda used to give a very beautiful idea regarding love, the triangle of love. Have you heard of it? It's in Swamiji's Bhakti Yoga. See, what are the characteristics of love? Love knows no fear, first thing. Yes, if it's really an object of your love, you will never fear it. And love knows no barter. That's the second point. If it is an object of your love, you want no transaction there. Because it's enough that you love. It completes you. You are not expecting that person to love you. See, the very nature of love is it liberates the lover. He is not going to beg anything from the beloved. So no barter. Third is, love is always the highest ideal. You are seeing the highest ideal reflected there, then only you can love. No, nothing else will contribute to the highest love. So all these cheap representations of so-called love, some kind of physical attraction, mental attraction, don't exist in real love. Because for the lover, the beloved always represents his highest ideal. Then only there is real love is inspired only then, not due to anything else. So this is a great point to understand. As we mature in life, we must mature in love. Otherwise, your emotion is going in one direction, your thought is going in thought, you are doing Vedant, emotion is going in somewhere else, will is going somewhere else, actions are going somewhere else. Not like that. Everything comes together. So as we grow in life, we grow in love, we grow in awareness, and we grow in real intelligence. Yes. That is why then you will understand statements like love is different from attachment. Love is different from attachment, or same thing? What is the difference? Selfless. The nature of love is selfless because it's not a barter. Your love completes you. You don't ask anything from the beloved. So it is selfless. See, the closest example, any mother will tell you this, that she became fulfilled as a woman by the coming of her child. She may not expect much from the child, anything from the child, something like that. Your own love completes you from within. So you are not expecting any favor from the beloved. This is very important. But that where there is no love, there is attachment, because that person has to satisfy me in some way. That is attachment. There's a beautiful analogy regarding this. See, if you truly love a flower, you will water the plant, you will give it enough sunlight, you give it fertile soil, you give it all that it needs, and you make it blossom into a complete flower. But if you are attached to that flower, you will pluck it and adorn yourself. Yes, this is the difference between love and attachment. Love fulfills you from within. So you will never ask anything from the beloved. In fact, you are only giving. You only want to give. But see, that is why in relationships, it is love alone that matters. And this barter and your mutual satisfaction, all this will fail. So attachment will fail always. So we must become capable of higher love, isn't it? The maturity of life lies in that. Otherwise, you are doing refined transaction. That's all. That's why so many marriages fail and all that happens. No maturity regarding love. So take care of this. Awareness, love, intelligence, wisdom, all connected. The deeper we become, the better we will live our lives. Authentic lives. We'll stop here. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.